Maybe this is the last Godforge video on this channel, but not because of reasons that you might think that it's not a good game or whatever. In fact, I'm positively blown away so far. Based on the expectations, so given that this is an alpha experience, based on that, it looks like a well thought out game that has a huge potential, and already it's more than enjoyable. So I will talk about some feedback. I played a bit less than what I wanted originally because of other obligations, of course, that I have outside creating these videos, of course. But what I have seen is that this game has a potential to not only do what Raid does, but a lot better. What do I mean by that? Like, what, a lot better? In what sense is it a lot better? Now, first of all, when you look at the user interface, the heroes themselves, it looks a lot better than what Raid does. From a perspective of clarity, okay, not this Ramses disco. That's another thing that can be fixed quite easily. But it looks better from an artistic point of view. It's a lot more clear. Maybe if I wanted to understand what the difference is between Godforge and Raid from an artistic point of view, is that here we're talking about heroes, we're talking about gods. This is a lot closer to what my generation experiences with, for example, Heroes of Might and Magic, and potentially with some other games as well. Looking at some game books that I don't even have like next to me, but wish I had, like Steve Jackson and Livingston. Maybe you know the Fighting Fantasy series. It's very much like regular heroes, right? It's not a dark fantasy. That's what I wanted to get. So Raid is running in the background. Let's go. I just want to basically a live arena because I need to do the live arena at some point, you know, and this is when I had time. I just needed one win because I don't have time for more. Now, when it comes to Raid champions, and I'm gonna show you a comparison, a direct comparison. Okay, so this is Godforge. Okay, so not dark fantasy at all. I mean, this character could come from Aladdin. The Disney Aladdin. See, well thought out. Now, when it comes to Raid, I'm seeing some sort of a dark fantasy vibe. Okay, well, Allah's is. I know you may be envious that I have Allah's and I have like Cardia. This is a free-to-play account. Will stay free-to-play most likely forever. Now, it's a bit different. You see, who would think about an Alice like this? Right? Who would think about creating Alice like this? It's amazing art, but it's more like dark fantasy. Who would think about Sabita? You know, I couldn't do the fusion back in the days with less than a month old account, so I picked up the epic. This is like a dark fantasy type of game. You feel intimidated when you look at her. Like Akamto, you see, dark fantasy. Toragi, dark fantasy. You see, it's so much different. You don't want to meet any of these guys. You don't want to meet Coldheart, I guess. Would be intimidated either. Even Kale, I mean, I know that Raid wanted to make him like a romantic hero, but dark elf, dark fantasy. Look at the gloves and all these skeleton-like figures. So you understand. Here in Godforge, these are gods. Gods are like mystified stories that don't look that threatening. They look rather heroic. They look rather idolized. Okay, Seth. You may fear gods in general, or Ramses. But you don't fear them because they look dark fantasy-like or ugly. You may fear them because they look powerful in real life. Except for the lion that, you know, you don't want to meet a lion in real life unless the lion respects you, because you're their caretaker. So this is not a dark fantasy character. This is like an Aladdin character, not a dark fantasy character. This is like a regular knight, not dark fantasy at all. Well, the undead character, like mummy, it's a mummy, fine. But I haven't seen this level of dark fantasy that I've seen in, for example, Raid. So that's a difference. You have a different type of illustration, graphics, because it's more like a Greek story, more like a mythical story. So that's one thing. Now, I removed the sound. Maybe it's worth adding it back. Let's see. Do we have some sound? Not switch account. Master volume. There you go. I'm adding some master volume. There you go. Music as well is a bit heroic. As I said before, there is an anime called Rurouni Kenshin. Exactly here. Until this. That sound was very much like in the 90s. There was this 4-part series called Rurouni Kenshin. Kenshin means swordsman, by the way, like a Japanese anime that basically was also about a hero story. Okay, it was quite dark, but it's still a hero story. Here you see that you get something completely different. Now, regarding the feedback itself, the game has a lot of potential. I said it on purpose. I'm not saying that this is a ready-made product. This is an alpha. I'm missing things that are gonna be there, obviously, in the final version. And for this reason, I will add some feedback that may be usable for the team. Let me change the master volume just a bit. I don't know how loud, how silent it is. I will have to experiment myself as well. If I create a new channel on Godforge, which may well happen, then I will at least know the settings. So, one piece of feedback. Suppose that you go to your heroes. You know all this already, that the banner is in the background. We have no idea which banner means what, but I have my cheat sheet, not a problem. Now, the real problem is when, for example, let's suppose that I just level 4 or 4-star Ramses or Ramses. I learned them as Ramses, by the way, because of the Eastern and Mid-European pronunciation. Anyway, now, suppose that you want to ascend Ramses. Then you go to upgrade. It's a bit counterintuitive because I want to ascend him and you don't have enough space here for another circle. But you do upgrade and here you have ascend, right? Now, you see that I don't have the red stones. I want to ascend, I cannot. And then the issue is, I need to find where these stones are. I know it's alpha experience. How can I get these stones? And my experience, first of all, I cannot close the window, you see, by clicking away. Usually, what you do, this is like web development 101, when you open something, so for example, I close it like with the X button, that's the only way to close it. But it's user experience wise, it could be better. Because when you do upgrade, it's basically a different form. It's like a modal window. What you do with a modal window is it opens on top of the screen and it has a frame. And when you click away, like outside the frame, you can close it. A lot of games use this user interface trick. Modal window. Now, that's one thing. Because you need to see this small X, you need to locate this small X to close it. Second, and this is the more important thing, how the hell can I get this red stone, right? This is my question in this case, because I cannot ascend it. So, sure enough, I need to click X. I need to click another X that has, by the way, when you have an X, it's like the widgets need to be recognizable and they need to be the same. So before getting to how the hell I can get the red stones, that was the essential feedback, you see that when you do upgrade, this X looks drastically different than this X, which means that some players might not even see that this X essentially is the only way to close this goddamn window. right? So you see these X. It's quite easy to confuse it with a plus, which is like a 45-degree inverted or rotated X, essentially. I'm just kidding about the plus and the X, but it's almost in the same location, you see? And you know what the plus is. You want to get more. It's not functioning at the moment because it's just a placeholder. But this X is very much like in that position, it's just slightly larger and 45 degrees rotated plus. So I would recommend making sure that it's a bit more memorable, a bit more visible, because that's the only way to close this window once again. Now, how can I get that red thing? So once again, you go here, you go upgrade, and you go ascend. Oh, actually not here, but with the other guy, because I wanted the red one. Ascend, here it is. So this red stone. Now, first of all, you know, accessibility. I'm not gonna start seeing, like, looking for contrast and stuff, because most of your player base are gonna see quite well what is going on. Some may not see the colors well enough, but that's one of the worst things that you can do. Now, even I have serious problems with telling the difference between this red stone, called Raw Strength Alchemy Stone, and this other one called Polished Strength Alchemy Stone. So this might be the raw one, but it's not clickable, so I cannot know, right? When I mistake this with this. Most likely it's the left-hand side, the smaller one. Especially that I'm only taking care about an epic. And there is no potion mixer like in Raid, you know? So this means, or yet, this means that I need to farm exactly this. So I need to go to battle caverns. I made minimal progress, by the way, so I was not playing as hard as I wanted to. You see, I have more energy than before, and this will stay for a while. Now, you see that there is no filter, there is nothing. I need to develop a cheat sheet, a table to myself, because I need to click around. There you go. Level or stage 35. By the way, I know that 25 has the same thing most likely, and 15 has the same thing, and 5 has the same thing, but it's 35. So you see, this experience implies that we need to either create a sheet for ourselves, which is already a better experience than back in the 80s when we did fighting fantasy game books, if you, maybe some of you remember. Steve Jackson, like Carrie and the City Port of Traps, for example. Crown of the Kings, whatever else. Where you had to effectively memorize a stupid, like, spell book. Because you couldn't take the spell book with you in theory. And I believed it. So I memorized some of the spells. I was so stupid. Anyway. It's the same thing here. And that you need to create a table to see what resource can be farmed where. It's not that hard. But you know what you could get inspired by? Era of Chaos. I don't have it open on my screen, but I can let you know that what Era of Chaos would have done is that, okay, upgrade, ascend. This time we have this green stone, which is the second one. It's somewhat more recognizable, or is it? No, actually it's the first one. Actually, it looks like the first. It's so hard, you see, even to me. Change this resource, because I have no idea which one you're talking about, right? But what Era of Chaos would do is you click on the resource, it opens a modal window that is easy to close, obvious to close, not like an X here that you either recognize or not. So obvious to close, and it tells you how you can acquire the resource. Option 1, you'd go to the potion mixer. Option 2, you go here, you go there. But I think it's the same thing with Raid. So background music, it's the same with Raid, because is there anyone I can ascend? Well, I did this Ishiyama, it was super easy. Okay, so ascend tavern, ascend. And then you click on the potion, and you see you can go to the shop. You can go to the potion mixer, and you can go to the spirit keep. Unfortunately, it's closed. So sure enough, you go to the potion mixer and then you figure out, oh, I'm short on force keep farming. You know what? Let me do something useful while navigating all these. Or not force keep, what is this arcane keep? So let me start farming stage 20. At least there are background multi-battles. So this is what it would do. And it would direct you directly to the place where you have the resource, where you can acquire the resource. I know alpha experience, but thinking about it is worth it, well worth it. Now, I know for a fact that cunning is the affinity. You have the same wheel as in most games. So green beats red, red beats blue, and blue beats green. Actually it's the opposite of what is in most games. It's like what raid does. That I understand. So this is cunning, fine. But this cunning looks very much like this disruptor. And disruptor is some other type. It is not obvious whether you always have the affinity first, the second thing second, and then you have chaos and order. By the way, you could have strength, you could have other things as well. So these things. Okay. Which you can get inspired by Era of Chaos a lot with these icons. I'm opening BlueStacks at the moment just so that you see what I'm talking about. It's gonna be loaded in a minute. Now, here, even raid. Let's see the raid user interface, where you have the heroes or champions. They call it champions for some reason. So, alas, you see the banner barbarians. You see the force. So this is force champion. And what else do you see? Where do you see that he's an attack or defense based champion? Here it's written defense. So this means that the different types of things, so affinity, faction, and the type are symbolized in a different way. It takes time to get used to the champion, but once you get used to him, evidently you will be able to read all these things. Okay? So this is hopefully understandable. Here, the fact that you have the affinity, you have this, I don't even know what this is. Some people are disruptors, others are slayers. So I think it's like whether you do attacker, defender, and so on, it's just a different name. Now, I think what Etheria Restart screwed up the big time is that, well, I can show you that as well because I was like doing the live arena. What Etheria Restart messed up like big time is the terminology. So the terminology of like, how should I know when I'm a new player that green pursuit, threshold, investigation, GPR, how should I know what these mean? Now afterwards they added shell, module, and XP and material. And also they had this red, green, blue, same thing. But they started using these names like reason, auth, hollow, disorder, constant. It takes more time to understand the terminology, like reason. Why is it called reason? Why is it called auth? Why is it called hollow? What's the reason? What's the point? I don't understand what's going. Like why? I would call them, let's say, red, blue, green, or whatever RGB, red, green, blue. And if you start introducing terminology like this one is an invoker. Invoker, I understand caster, I understand support. I understand healer. Invoker restores strength to your team, empowering your allies, focusing on healing and enabling team to increase their potency in battle. Now, is it a healer or is it a support? This is what I want to understand. What is an invoker? Why do we need to use the name invoker? See, I will eventually understand it because, as you see, I broke through the barrier of understanding the terminology of Etheria Restart. It's not gonna be my number one game, but still, whenever I had time, I basically covered the basics, I understood the basics, and collected resources, and one day my account is gonna be super strong, who knows? But it's just a very slow and steady thing. Here, and it's like minimum time investment on that part. Here on in Godforge, what you want to avoid is that your follower base, like us, will understand these things sooner or later. But you may want to target a wider audience than people who know you already. And in this case, this is an entry barrier. New players, I intentionally didn't read much about Godforge. I saw some demos, I saw like fiddling around in some 3D modeling studios. So that's all I saw about the game. I had no idea about the mechanics, I had no idea about champions or heroes, I had no idea about all these things. So everything that I'm seeing is new. And then when I see Slayer, is it like attack? Then why isn't it attack? Why isn't it something like damage or something that people understand, like Slayer? Is he Slayer because but then he doesn't even have a sword to slay it. Okay, that I understand. Why isn't he a Slayer? What is he doing? Disruptor. Disruptors manipulate the flow of battle with focus, applying powerful disables and debuffs on foes, manipulating turn order manipulation. Okay, so this is something I understand. This is something I understand. Okay, so then turn meter manipulation, disruptor. It looks like a caster to me, but either way. Meanwhile, I'm logging in to Era of Chaos, just so that you see how clear that game is. How clear that game is from the perspective of knowing what types of units you have. So, okay, I understood this. But then, noob question. I'm intentionally dumbing myself down as much as possible. What is the difference between Cunning and Disruptor? Because they have the same circle. So, they may do like... Cunning and Disruptor are two separate features of the same hero, and then this one has Strength and Slayer. Can a champion or hero be Cunning and Strength at the same time? I know the answer, that one hero has one affinity, not two. Although if you had two affinities, that would be funny. Like changing affinity. Who knows? Raid hasn't figured this out. But a new player who has no idea about these types of games has absolutely no idea that a hero cannot be Cunning and Strength at the same time. Okay, once they figure out this wheel, they will figure it out sooner or later. And what is this void thing? This purple, I haven't... This is a purple guy. What is the name? Eternal. Okay, Eternal. Fine. So now, finally, we got Era of Chaos. There you go. And when you see the units, there I will show you the filters, and then you will understand what is going on. By the way, here you have Kozotokol and all these others as well. Now, suppose that I want to filter. Here you have faction, that is like the factions of Heroes 3, like Castle, Tower, and so on. They have these banners, it's easy. But class, and we have 5 classes in total. Attacker, Defender with a shield, it's easy, isn't it? Charger. A charging unit basically goes and deals damage to the back row. Okay, this is a grid-based game like, what is the name of it that got just relaunched, and I've been playing it for the last week. It's not Watcher of France, but it has some tower defense features in it. Dragonair Silent God. It's grid-based like that one. So charging, basically what you do is, I'll show you the formation, that you put a charger in charging position, for example this guy, and if the enemy has the units on the bottom 2 rows, then this goes to the back row and damages casters and ranged units, archers, whatever this is called, this thing. So you see, casters and archers, these are the 5. So, you know, attackers melee deal the most damage. Defenders who defend. Now, if you put a defender and an attacker against each other, the attacker will most likely eventually win because the defender cannot deal enough damage. You understand that? If you put a charger and an attacker together, the attacker will most likely win because the charger is not dealing enough damage. But the charger helps you, this charging unit, get rid of the back row units if it can score by not meeting a defender or an attacker. So this is some extra combination. Then you have casters and archers. Based on the pictograms, it's easy. Casters can heal, casters can freeze, manipulate. Well, if you had turn meters, you would be able to manipulate turn meters. And you have a hero as well, by the way. So plus backup units, plus support units, so there are a lot of combinations, like really a lot of combinations. That's why I keep on playing this game. But you see that you have 5 types of classes and that's it. You have 10 types of factions and that's it. Now, the funny thing is that once you awaken them, the alternative ones can change faction and also change class. So Era of Chaos actually invented that when you have 2 types of different awakenings, this is just an idea, a regular awakening and an alternative awakening, a second one, it's called Star Soul Awakening there. And by the way, Godforge and Stars, just think about that. Godforge and Stars. So imagine that you have Star Soul Awakening. Let's see, I'm sure there is a player like Master Genie. Genie is also in Godforge, you know. Oh, come on, no gremlins, Genie. You have a regular awakening, that is kind of easy. But some units also have Star Soul Awakening. And in Star Soul, basically what you do is you complete some missions, and then you awaken like these stars. And then they become even stronger. And then let's say a SR unit can be as strong as a SSR or a UR unit, ultra rare unit or whatever else. After like finishing all 6, it's like a really long, like half a year long struggle sometimes. So if you think about that, it is not impossible to change the affinity. Now, one thing that I was thinking about as well, that when I saw these circles for the first time ever, is that whenever you have a unit, they have the similar types of circles in some places. You have stats, whatever. This is like a very complicated game. That's fine, and relevance. But when you see these circles in the units, you have the same types of circles. Let's see, formations. So for example here, you see that Era of Chaos actually made a similar, well, I'm not sure if it's a mistake or not, that you belong to a castle. Castle is the faction. You belong to the offensive types, that you're an attacker, and you belong to the legendary units because this is a legendary unit. And then you're affiliated with Protected Roots and Eratia, whatever that is. Now, if you look at a regular unit, like a Cyclops, you might have Cyclopses too. Stronghold, Cyclops King. Ranged unit, that is easy. Raider, which has some other bonuses, and Affiliation Crewlord. So you see that this way, Era of Chaos is also mixing affinity and the class, if you call this class. So thinking about all this, it may make sense. Now regarding order and chaos, just giving you some ideas, because first when I thought about this, I was thinking about the union feature of Era of Chaos, because it has 5 unions. They managed to group 2 factions and 2 alternative factions into unions. This is the Order Union with Castle and Tower, and with Rampart Alternative Awakened, Fortress Alternative Awakened. Death Union, which is like Necromancers and Dungeon. Chaos Union, which is like Inferno Fortress. You see, you have Order Chaos yourself. Inferno Fortress. Life, which is Rampart and Conflux with the Elementals. Conflux has Elementals. Maybe you will have Elementals too, who knows. And Strength, sheer Strength, is Stronghold and Cove. This makes sense, doesn't it? And then you may extend this order and chaos one day, not necessarily copying what's out there in the Heroes of Might and Magic universe. You may not even want to do that because of obviously legal consequences with Ubisoft. But order and chaos, I mean, these are not patented things. You have order, chaos, fine. And these groups, these teams may make a lot of sense. Now, you have different builds and the complexity comes from the gear. I have like horrible gear on most people so far because I haven't farmed it much. I spent a bit on upgrading them, that's why I could like move forward. So the idea is that you have 3, 4 or 5 units called heroes here, and they cooperate by slaying the opponent waves. It can be made a bit more complex, but Raid didn't go that way either. I'm just giving you some ideas. Thought for food. Or food for thought, to be exact. Now, this has been the feedback so far that I was thinking about. For the cavern, you might want to do something with this text, Cavern of Chaos, because it interferes with the stages themselves, and then you cannot read chaos. This is a very minimal thing. And then let's do the battles. Level 39. I want to know what this is good for. Okay, so initially you feel overwhelmed and you don't know what is for what. For example, navigation back and forth is important. So navigation from the perspective of hero upgrades to get here to stage 39, this is important. But then if you just advance like stage 39, okay, I get these scrolls, what is it good for? Why do I have scrolls? Most games really suck at this. Most games. Including Hero of Chaos, including Raid, including many others. Now, you have Scroll of Knowledge. I know for a fact that this is what I need for the skill upgrades, so I might even start farming this, assuming that I can. So skill upgrade of the epic. So I might even farm this for a while. And I will need other heroes as well, sooner or later. But this team has been the strongest and I haven't played that much. So let's see this one. One thing is that if you do auto battles like farming, during farming you're not in a position to change camera. I know this is an alpha thing. I don't know which camera is best. I'm fine with all cameras. In fact, if you have problems with like the hardware requirements, I don't even need this graphics, frankly. I grew up on things like, including Heroes of Might and Magic 1 of course, but I grew up on Defender of the Crown and Commodore 64. Now, Commodore 64 is not the best hardware overall, but I could play it. I understand that modern games require good graphics, and in fact the look and feel is quite good. You can add shading, you can add multiple other things, but if you add some dumbed down like graphical version from or some devices, some mode for some older devices, that could help with more player base. Yeah, sometimes there are bugs. You saw this bug, for example, with the purple thing. Someone else has noticed it already. I'm not gonna submit this. Now, one thing that I love in Raid and I'm missing here is that you see the text, right? So you see what is going on, and you also see these things right here. They are not clickable at all. So I cannot know which buffs and debuffs are activated at what time. I have no idea about it. It's written there, like mind, and then this icon is added here. But most people will never connect the two, that this thing added here is mind. So strong is here, nothing got added. What does strong mean? Okay. So when you add the text, this is amazing. But even if you stop auto, let's see, can we add some buff or debuff or something? So now I have like one attack, but the attack is not displayed like what it does. Now it does with right click. Attack attacks, and not attack, one enemy with 2 times, well, it can also be attack, 2 times with 30% chance to place an attack down target for 1 turn. Okay, I'll do that. I'll get the yellow one. Attack down didn't work, too bad. Are we gonna die? Oh, by the way, one thing. I have no idea which wave I'm on. How do I know the wave? Like wave 2 out of 3, I would like to see that. I'm not seeing it. Okay. This one, right click, Desert Mirage. Attack an enemy with 75% attack chance to place it down on all enemies. Okay, let me do that. 75%, I don't know if it happened. I'm slowly dying. So tough luck, I think I'm dead. So what I'm missing is an ability to stop the game at any time and see what buffs and debuffs are active at a given point in time. Etheria does that to some level, and also Raid does that. And this is one reason why Era of Chaos is a bad game from a perspective of transparency. Although there are some ways of getting around it. So if we go to some other stage that I'm actually able to beat, like for example stage 30 something, where do I have something? Yeah, for example this one I will need 35. Okay, I'll show you the auto battle first. So the mistaken auto battle is clear. Auto battle is in progress. It's great that it's like blurred, just like in Dragonair. I'm not sure if there is gonna be like a mode where you can do some things with resources, but I cannot stop. I want to pause the game. I want to pause the game. Okay, I know that I can go to manual. Okay, now I'm manualing. I'm right clicking, nothing happens. I'm left clicking, nothing happens. Wherever I see, what is this down arrow? Information, nothing. This one, nothing. Yeah, it's just for screenshots, I guess. Okay. How do I know which buffs and debuffs are active at a given point in time? And what those debuffs do? You know, Raid has this. I don't know, have I managed to take all my energy? I think I'll just stop the keep multi-battle. Stop multi-battle. Raid has this. You know that whenever you do a fight, I cannot get into it. That's a mistake from the end of Raid, by the way, that you cannot see it live. So you have a table of all buffs and debuffs on all units. You know it better than I do, I guess. What is this? General of the Nile. Fine. Looks like a passive. So for transparency, this is amazing. I'll give you an example for bad implementation. So let's suppose that we want to fight someone here. This is Era of Chaos. Fine. And let's suppose that I want to fight someone. I don't know. For example, I'll go here. This is some random event because it's slightly Chinese, you know. And we need to battle this ship. And here, by the way, this formation makes no sense in reality. If for other game modes, here it makes sense because the score depends on the 8th, so the lowest damage. Only the lowest damage out of 8 is accepted. So literally, I cannot have defenders, and I had to find some other units that do something, and I stay alive for the duration of the whole battle. That's why I have this weird formation. If you know what this is all about. And let's get started. So I'll show you a horrible example for a battle. There is no transparency in here. So you see, you start battle, domains get activated, and these are the buffs and debuffs, and good luck figuring it out. Okay, it's at 6x speed, so with 1x speed you would see more things, but the whole battle is like a big, like a flashy battlefield, and you have no idea what is going on. You see, domain is changed, and it's possible to turn off the animations and close it, move it down to 1x speed, but you have no idea what is happening on the battlefield. You cannot even see which units are doing what. Now, there is a fast battle where you can see things a bit better, but you have no idea. Okay, you can cast spells manually, it's possible, but then which unit was this? I have no idea. So this is a very good counterexample towards what you shouldn't do, because I have no idea why I won, why I dealt this much damage. It's a dark gray box. I see some of the effects happening. I see some, you see this is the lowest like damage dealing unit, and then all I can do is, let's say, okay, I understand, then let me replace the unit that deals the least amount of damage with a unit that may deal a bit more damage, because whatever. And then let me try, just in case. You see? Let me try. I don't mind actually, because, you know, I don't need it for the completion. Anyway, I have no idea what the hell is going on in the battlefield, right? And this is a big mistake. Here, at least we have some idea. Now, you see, it's a simplified one, so it's not like 9 units are up against another 9 units plus backup formations may come. Oftentimes there is just one item, especially until you upgrade the skills. So that's unfortunate. But now, are we on wave 2 or wave 3? I think we're on wave 2, but I have no idea. Let me go back to auto. And then you see that we're damaging. This is easy to understand. Now we got some buff that was written in there. But there is no table, there is no, you know, as back in the days there was this song from Ace of Base, life is demanding without understanding. That's the problem. And this is my problem in Year of Chaos as well. Now, I'm quite certain this is wave 3 now. And, well, we got the debuffs on the opponents, but I'm quite positive that if we click on these debuffs, and this is really difficult, you click on the debuffs themselves, but what is the hitbox? Because if you click on the unit, the attack is done. So it may not be an optimal place to get information on the debuff itself. Ethereal gives some like table on the top left with the small avatars of the units. Maybe you want to do something like to add the debuffs and buffs next to the units in here in a clickable way. And then you can stop and you can already scroll up and down. And then you understand what buffs and debuffs are activated at a given point in time, and all units are there, including the dead ones. That makes quite a lot of sense. And you can stop at any time, and it makes perfect sense, like user interface wise. It's easy, understandable. Now, Raid has this ability to rotate the camera. This is fine. Scrolling is disabled at the moment. At least I'm trying to scroll, I cannot. I understand this. So this, don't ask me about which camera is good enough. I don't mind. Anyway, let me attack the lion, whatever. I mean, some people like the cinematics, but for others it's disturbing. I don't mind if it was like a view very much like in Dragonair, for example. I don't mind that either. I don't mind if it's a raid-like view. I don't mind if it's an ethereal-like view. Another Ramses, like, give me a break. So, we have this. Okay, victory. Fine. One other thing that I noticed, and we'll replay this, is that, okay, this is wave 1. Amazing. But after finishing wave 1, look at what happens. And I'm intentionally gonna change the camera so that it doesn't move much. It's just the raid camera. So after finishing wave 1, look at the transition to wave 2. It will take a while even at 2x speed. By the way, I would kill, well, not literally, but kill for an experience where you have 3x speed, 5x speed, even at an expense of worse graphics. Look at the transition. They go, stop, very long pause, and a different wave. In Raid it's so much different, it's so much more smooth. I think you know that. It's just the loading times that you watch a black screen. It is possible to do something like back in the 90s, you know, in two-dimensional fields. This was the problem between Abstract Windowing Toolkit and Swing for those who know Java. Okay, that Swing did a lot of things in the background, and with AWT, oftentimes things were a bit more flickery if they didn't do double buffering properly. One was lightweight, the other was heavyweight. And in 3 dimensions, it is also possible to keep the background in the memory, get the new background into memory in the meantime, just a different screen, while something is not too intensive, because you know that the next wave is coming, the next like third wave, and it's a different scene. So you start working on that because you have time, and you're not loading now, but you load while the previous battle was going on. And you do the same thing with the units. And then you can transition a bit better, and you distribute workload. So you sacrifice a bit of performance all the time to proactively load the assets into memory that you need and work on a second screen. Oftentimes it's possible to swap between screens. I get this inspiration from, for example, racing games. Because you know, in racing games what happens is that you drive, but sometimes when you don't have like 3 screens next to you, you need to press a button to look back. Like F125 has this, or all the way from F120. You press a button to look back, and it's a different camera, a different scene. Okay, but like in racing games, it's not like this. It's not like you render 2 separate 3-dimensional environments. But it is possible. It is very much possible to work on this. But it's an alpha experience, so I understand most likely you want to make this a lot more smooth. Okay, we won. So what information do I have here? I'm sensing some sort of an information overload. Victory 1 2 stars. I don't know what I like more. So the same mission every single time, or different missions. If different missions, maybe a 3rd star could add more variety, but 2 stars are more than fine. Okay. These are the levels. I have no idea if this is the cap or it can move on. I have no idea how many XPs or XP I won. I have no idea what this like attack, health and defense, what this means. What did I get? Why is it like I managed to damage this amount? And then you see that the first 2 heroes were the main ones. That this amount of health was left. And what is this third thing? This defense. What does this do? So it's not explained. Obviously you will have a tutorial. So why is this important? And also, why are there these like blue, this blue bar? What does it represent, and why doesn't it go to level 27? Will it go to level 27 next time? I have no idea, because I don't know how many XPs I have earned. Whether I can use the cavern for farming XP while earning resources. I have no idea about it. Now, on the right I got the rewards, I understand, and if I click the guy, I cannot see him anymore. You know, this will come later. This is gold, I understand that. Polished Eternal Alchemy Stone, I understand that too. Okay. So let's go back to the hero screen. This is the hero screen. You can do abilities. And you can upgrade abilities, okay. So, which scroll? Oh, he's fully upgraded, so it must be the scroll that is quite abundant. Upgrade. I don't mind if I'm doing like bad investment at the moment. Couldn't care less about it. This is not a competition. This is just mechanics. Like, let's say 10, 9. Let's say I do all. Success, fine. Got it. This is easy. Ascension is easy. Except that these two assets look the same. Promotion is surprisingly easy. It is a good job done, a job well done, that whenever you rank up a hero, their stats are not gonna decrease. Because there is nothing worse than having like a 5-star champion, going up to level 50, and then 6-starring the champion becomes unusable. Until I get them up to like level 40, level 45, level 50, level whatever. So here we don't have these dips. It's a lot better. Okay, what I wanted is awakening. Now, I've awakened at least one champion, yeah, or one hero. Now, let's see if I can awaken our starter hero. So we have awaken, select one, I have a few, confirm, and awaken. Success. So I've managed to awaken the starter hero. Good. I know there is some ability upgrade, whatever that is. I didn't look. But then why do you have an other awakening mechanic? I'm not sure if it was this was for weapons. Imprint and extraction. What is this good for? Because I can take other heroes, even the same ones, and then it says deal 10% increased damage to enemies under acid. And then I can extract. And what does this mean? I have this library. What can I do with it? Are these like souls for awakening? But then why do you have the awakening feature? What is this good for? So this is something that hasn't been explained properly. Obviously, alpha experience. What do I do once I get this? Because I do extract. I've tried it with another hero. Confirm. Are you sure you want to sacrifice a rare hero for an imprint? This action is irreversible. Okay. In 10 days my account will be deleted, so who cares? So I did this. Fine. And then I go back to the heroes. And then what do I do? Abilities, I understand they can be maxed. They're already maxed. I can promote, I understand that easy. Ascend, that's understandable as well, 4 out of 4. Abilities, they are max already. So we go back. And awakening. So you see there was a 1-star awaken. And now I only have 1 token left. And then what is this? Unlocked ability upgrade, what? Not clickable. This one is clickable, very much clickable. Select one. And I think I have the 1 remaining token. But there is this other thing. This sacrifice and imprint. So I can do an imprint. Or I can do a unit. What is the difference? Why would I sacrifice a unit? Why would I sacrifice an imprint? Because I get the same result on the awakening. What is the point? What else can I use an imprint for? And then I'm not seeing any imprints. Like set bonus, there you go, I will add equip. I didn't do this, maybe that's why I failed the previous one. I can do enhancing. And here I can add an imprint on this. And then it's on the weapon. So now I answered my own question. Okay. It's just, I'm not used to it yet. What if I do an other imprint? So can an other hero's imprint work on Ramses or Ramses? Can it work? I don't know. I will use the same hero and I do the imprinting. Success, amazing. And now he got some weapon. Okay. So this is what the imprint is for. But it's not evident. I figured it out with some trial and error. Fine, first time ever. If you do a competition for most of the players, they will not be able, well, some of them will be able to figure it out, others won't. Quite likely they won't. Because I know what it feels like to enter into a competition. So, for example, in Raid, this is my account. I'm letting you know how I entered the competition, the Hell Hades competition for Raid in 2025. It was announced back in the days that content creators have to have 10 videos. What did I do? Near like New Year's Eve or bit before it, I registered to Raid. I had no idea what I was doing. I created 10 videos in 10 days or like 5 days. And I uploaded all of them. Maybe it was already December 28th or something. And I registered to the challenge. I finished 20 something in the content creators, like 23rd, 24th, I don't remember, out of 65. But it was horrible. I had no idea what I was doing. And then you had like purple stars and red stars. This whole mechanic was new to me. Gear, like what kind of gear can we have? Like what is level 16? What is level 12? There were no super rates. And then you have soul stones, awakening, all these other things. It was crazy. And in the awakenings you had like different currencies and you have no idea what the currencies are for. Then you have the gems. Then you have like a very possessive client, because you know, I used to run like quite a lot, like even back then, even now I'm running like 3 times a week I usually run. And then you farm, let's say, Minotaur. I didn't even know what dungeons drop what. Let's, like, first of all, whether it's worth farming Dragon or whether it's worth farming Campaign, all these things. Now, a new player experience for Raid, when you do a competition, a new player experience needs to be even better than Raid. Now, for Alpha, it's evidently important to see what players misunderstand and why. Maybe I was able to give you feedback on this. So the game is shaping, and we're getting into a territory where you have serious things in terms of information architecture. I mean, information architecture, how you represent information so that it's the best possible experience for most people, and not for yourself, not for experts, and not just for the follower base who are basically almost experts or close to experts. And friends and family can also influence you. Some of them are noobs, others are experts. But also for those who are used to different types of games. Well, this is one thing. And then what I'm not seeing is that, okay, this is just an interface, I have some imagination, but what I'm not seeing is why I, as a user, would spend money on this product. Okay? So what am I gonna get? And here, there is a horrible experience that I would like to highlight. I've had some experience, a minimal experience for PvE reasons, on Dragonair Silent Gods. I was just trying out the campaign, and once I finish the campaign, I basically finish the season, and we'll see if season 2 is interesting enough. Most likely it won't be. And after about like 3-4 days, I told myself, listen, this game looks so good, and it's also exciting enough, although the story is not as good as Fallout, but it's exciting enough that it may be worth some dollars or pounds or euros or whatever. And I was like, okay, but why would I need to spend? I can progress quite well. I don't need anything. Like, what do I spend on? Because if I spend on anything, I get like 0.0001%, let's say, increment. Even if I do the pass or whatever else. Now, Ethereum Restart did a damn good job on it with the passes and the gem card and the other things. Raid, I don't know. My problem with Raid, it's not the pop-ups. I understand I just auto-close it, it's a reflex. It's like I go to the shop, and the thing is that these are all horrible deals. Like, why would I get, except for the free stuff, why would I get anything? These are all really, really bad deals, if you think about it. Monetization, these are really bad deals. And I know that if I want a champion, for example, if I wanted to get the 5-star soul of Tholin, they were basically jerks in here, like Plarium. That I was thinking, okay, let me save some shards, so I did the lower reward for the summon rush, and I thought that I will get away with just the lower reward of the champion chase, and I will do everything else in between, and that's what I did. But then I figured out that you need to have the higher rewards of at least one of them. And then I started checking out, okay, how much money would it take to get the 5-star soul on this currently free-to-play and still free-to-play account? And I figured out, actually I don't know, because in the champion chase you're never sure. Anywhere between like $50 all the way to $300. And then I figured out this just to get a 5-star soul for a champion and to get some new shards. This is crazy, it doesn't make any sense. So that's when I figured out monetization, raid, even with the first buyer's bonus, which I figured out as well. This is a disaster. And obviously they want to empty your accounts so that you continue with the slot machine. And then obviously they want you to buy your worth or your value so that you can prove that you're valuable and you finish the 5-star soul. And for that you may dump down $100, you may dump down the like $200 on the toilet in exchange for assets. This is not a valuable exchange, so it's like not a win-win relationship. This is like a Stockholm syndrome type of relationship where, okay, just no one else should find out that I've done this, right? Actually, I didn't, I'm still free to play, but that's another story. Because that's predatory. Now, I know that you want to do better than the predatory raid, but why would players start spending? You need the tripwire, like low offers, you need the higher offers, but those changes need to be meaningful. Era of Chaos does a good job at it. So what Era of Chaos does, let me open the, here it is. It's actually funny that there are always like good offers. Things like Growth Fund, where you can get a lot of gems. That most games do it. If you want to get some extremely strong, overpowered characters, they do it in a very transparent way. You know, these are like, you can say that these are extremely expensive for a hero that carries your team for about a year, maybe year and a half, but they are not gonna be the strongest in like half a year already. But it's transparent, there is no like slot machine mechanics on it. And basically these are all the things that you need. Of course there are some passes as well that are made exciting at times. So for example, this thing, where you get some rewards and you understand what each reward is good for, it's even written in there. That's fine. So monetization is not that bad because people eventually find a way to monetize. And well, basically this is the only game where I spent like, let's say, more than 100. Except for iRacing, but there you have a lot of cars and trucks. Or not trucks, tracks. So this is basically I know what I'm getting, and I get a lot more for my money in terms of strength than, let's say, in Raid. In Raid, most of the offers are really bad. In Dragonair, I didn't understand why I would need anything, because I don't want PvP. In Raid, it's a lost case, because I know that I'm not gonna compete with the top of the top after like 5 years not doing anything and then just having a free-to-play account. So there, for my progress, I didn't need to get anything. Why would someone pay money? What is exciting? Do you want, let's say, some quality of life features? Do you want some... well, then why would we make the game worse than what it is, right? So quality of life, hiding it behind a paywall is oftentimes a double-edged sword. But what could I get? What could I get that would incentivize me to spend? And there you need a lot of like good design to sell it. Etheria has it, Etheria Restart, although there it's a bit weird because you're not getting much for your money either in Etheria. In Raid you're not getting much for your money. In Hero of Chaos you get quite a lot for your money, which widens the gap between pay to win and free to play, fine. But actually free to play can still compete because that widened gap is closed, because Hero of Chaos has a deflationary environment where new things are introduced and the old one becomes obsolete. So people still spend, but their spending is devalued in the future. So they feel the extra strength now, but they don't know that, or maybe they know that in half a year it will be worth less, but they want it for the dopamine right now. I would say that if a purchase is valuable and it's not a slot machine mechanic that you get shards and maybe you get someone or maybe not out of 800 champions, then the game can succeed. But monetization, you need to put a lot of thought into it. Maybe you have already seen this. That's a bit difficult to understand. Okay, let's play just one more, let's say level 39, because now we have the weapon. Let's see what difference just the weapon makes. Maybe we can finish this. Now we have the song. Once again, 2x speed. If I need to farm it with the battles on screen, in that case there is a chance that I won't farm it. Unless there is a competition or something that I really want to get engaged in. Battle music is not bad, but not especially good. I would imagine this like, let's say, a pirate fight now, not an Egypt-like fight. There is a missed opportunity with the music on this specific stage, because it's so easy to create something Egypt-like with the pharaohs and everyone else. This has not much to do with Egypt, I think, this music. But it may be just a generic music for all fights, I don't know. Okay, looks like we have a slightly easier time now. Of course the main skill is activated just before the end of the wave because it's auto. Let's see the third and final wave. So that's when I messed up last time. Let's see if it's easier now. For some reason it looks a lot easier. I don't know what I did or what I didn't do. But now this performance is nowhere near what we saw. And by the way, do we always have 3 waves, just like in Raid? Or do we have sometimes like 2 waves, sometimes 4 waves? Looks like the 3 waves is the default. Okay, looks like it's straightforward. So with all the upgrades, it was quite easy to move forward. Then level 40. it is not evident enough whether you can bring a 5th hero or not. To me it is quite evident because I try it regardless. But the lock looks very much like this empty card. So make the card, like, let's say, flash, and so that it's recognizable. Bring this champion or hero for training. Let's see level 40, because there must be some sort of a boss. Now, this is not a missed opportunity in terms of music, because I understand that for the setting this is quite good. Oh, visual bug with the half circle, purple. The trainee is gonna die quite soon, but at least he absorbed some damage. This 2x speed is still feeling a bit sluggish. Like very sluggish. Especially when you do auto. If you do manual it's a different story, but given my understanding of the game is relatively low, I understand the mechanics, but I don't have like a strategizing mind yet developed. It will come. Obviously, me manualing doesn't give a lot of extra. Especially that without Awakening, Ascension, all these other things, we don't even have enough skills. Those skills have to be acquired first. I'm looking forward to the boss though. Let's see the cameras. And then we'll call it a day with this. I think I know which the best camera is. So you come up with an aggregate view of which camera should be the default, and maybe you could give the choice to the players, at least on clients where you don't have a performance issue. And you enable camera, like all the camera settings on those devices where there is not a problem. I'm saying that it may be important to restrict the camera to just one for optimization purposes. But it is not impossible to keep a raw, like second or third camera on higher performance settings. Can we select an opponent? No. So I'm missing the selection, like which opponent you select by default. You know, there is a circle usually. Because I would need to know which opponent to attack. I would also need to know what they do, because it looks to me like an ice golem mechanic a bit. That, well, not exactly, because these minions won't be revived. But that you need to kill the smaller ones first to get rid of their buffs. Okay. So that's all I can see from the alpha. So I'm still quite positively impressed. Sooner or later this song or these melodies will be a bit like the Superman song from the 80s, you know, recognizable. That's important. Okay, what else? So, colors of the heroes are really good. With or without shading. Colors of the banners could be a lot better. For example, this one. It's not prominent enough, it's not recognizable enough. They are somehow fading in the darkness in the background. For example, this looks very much like Scotland. So the Forza Horizon 4, for instance. And if you play with Forza Horizon 4 for just, let's say, half an hour, then you see that the background is a bit lighter most of the time, even during like spring and fall seasons. And this banner just doesn't fit. This blurry, like dark background doesn't fit that much, even if you want to highlight the hero more. So the blurry background and the coloring could change, but the hero itself is good. And I think that's all that I have basically gathered as feedback. And well, the game mechanics are still really enjoyable. I'm like really lagging behind with the energy that I haven't spent. It's crazy. The more I play, the more energy I get. Or what are these, like potions? Yeah, it's called energy. So this may be worth changing. How to change avatar? I have no idea. Most likely you don't have any way to do that yet. Maybe sometime in the future. Okay, that's it. The game will unlock more and more as I progress. I understand. If there is anything new, I will create a new video on this.